The next morning, the village woke to screaming. A crowd gathered near the roadside cassava market where Mr. Is, a tall farmer in his early 40s, stood trembling in the middle of the square. Sweat ran down his face as he looked down at the dusty ground beneath him. There was sunlight. There was the ground. But there was no shadow. Villagers whispered nervously. Some stepped back like he carried a sickness. Others stared in disbelief. Mr. Is lifted his shaking hands. My shadow, it left me last night. Charity stood at the edge of the crowd with her grandmother. Her stomach twisted into a knot. Because she could see something nobody else could. Far behind Mr. Is, a dark shape slowly crawled across the ground like living smoke. And it wasn't trying to return. Charity's eyes followed the escaping shadow. It slithered along the ground like a snake made of darkness. Then it suddenly rose into the air for a moment, before rushing toward the forest. Her own shadow beside her stiffened. It has begun, it whispered. Charity's heart pounded. What has begun? The taking. A cold fear spread through her chest. How many shadows can that creature steal? Her shadow answered quietly. As many as it wants. Charity suddenly realized something terrifying. Mr. Is was still alive. But part of him was already gone. By evening, Mr. Is started changing. His voice became weak. His eyes looked hollow. Even his laughter sounded distant, like someone speaking from the bottom of a well. Villagers whispered that his spirit was leaving. Charity watched from afar with dread growing inside her. Every few minutes she noticed something strange. Mr. Is seemed lighter. Fainter. Almost like he was slowly fading out of the world. Her shadow spoke again. When shadows disappear, people slowly forget how to exist. Charity clenched her fist. She couldn't let that happen again. Night came quickly. A young girl named Tari, age 9, ran across the village square chasing a glowing firefly. Suddenly she stopped. Her shadow froze. Then it slowly peeled away from her feet like a sticker lifting from the ground. Tari screamed. Her shadow ran toward the forest faster than a person could run. Charity watched from across the square in horror. 2 shadows in one day. The creature was getting stronger. And nobody else in the village could see it happening. By midnight the entire village was whispering. 2 people had lost their shadows. And both had begun to weaken. Some elders claimed it was witchcraft. Others blamed ancient forest spirits. But Mama Ngozi knew better. She sat quietly beside Charity outside their house. The balance is breaking, she said softly. Charity looked down at her shadow. It stood calmly beside her like a guard. Grandma, what happens if the creature takes too many shadows? Mama Ngozi's eyes grew dark. Then the world will forget the light. Far inside the forest, the giant shadow creature grew larger. It now held 2 glowing shadows inside its smoky body. They struggled like trapped birds. The creature's eyes burned brighter. It could feel Charity's power awakening. And it wanted her shadow more than any other. Because if it captured her shadow, it would become unstoppable. As Charity prepared to sleep, her shadow suddenly moved on its own again. It pointed toward the forest urgently. They are coming, it whispered. Who? More shadows. Charity stepped outside. Across the village square she saw it. Shadows moving across the ground. Hundreds of them. Not attached to anyone. Running toward the forest like frightened animals. The creature was calling them. Morning came with terrifying news. 3 villagers were missing. Not dead. Not injured. Simply gone. Their houses were empty. Their clothes still hung on the walls. But something else was missing too. Their shadows. Charity felt dread wash over her. The creature was no longer just stealing shadows. It was taking people. Charity stood at the edge of the forest once again that evening. Fear churned inside her chest. But so did anger. If I don't stop it, she whispered, everyone will lose their shadows. Her shadow nodded. It is time. Charity stepped forward into the darkness. Would you follow them into the forest like Charity?